Welcome to High Infidelity, the best cheating videos on YouTube. If you enjoy this content, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now let's get into the video.
A letter to the other woman for months after learning about you by no admission of my husband's, but rather my discovery through an email, I would immediately become focused on the idea of you. I would torture myself with thoughts and questions. What did you have that I didn't? What did you provide to my husband that I couldn't? What type of woman would be okay to break up a marriage, especially one with an infant involved? Who raised you, and what would your family think about your choices? What was your end game? To mesh yourself into our lives and co-parent with us. Are you ready for endless story times and clean boogers and wiping poop off bottoms? Figuring out school schedules and shuffling between houses and making lunches? Surely not your thing. I would drive to work almost in a haze, wondering if you had told your friends over vodka sodas and White Claws at the bars, rimming up his photo on your phone and gloating about how he's going to leave his wife for you. Had you even told your friends? What would they think of you? What do you think of you? You are only 25, so you've barely just finished developing your brain. That's not even a dig. Your brain literally finishes developing at 25. You poor thing. I thought about a lot over the next few months. My marriage. My vows. I replayed myself breezing down the aisle, filled with hope and excitement of the life I would be starting with this man. I walked up to him and held on tight to his hands. I remember the ring, the one he placed on my finger and the one I placed on his, and how good it felt to finally belong to someone, letting all our family and friends know it. I remember later on, only months down the line, how I was so proud of my ring and how he barely wore his. I recall thinking how strange it was that he didn't seem to truly like this idea of being married. He would brush it off saying rings weren't his thing. And maybe they weren't, you know. But it would be something small that bothered me, beginning the pile of tiny worries that built up into a tower of eventual paranoia and fear. When you came into the picture, I admittedly allowed myself to become consumed in who you were. I thought about your body. I compared it endlessly to mine. How it looked on top of my husband's. How you shaved your legs and put on makeup to go see him, picking out your underwear you'd know he'd take off. I wondered about your prowess. Were you any good? Were you kinky or vanilla? Were you shy or loud? I didn't wonder about my husband. I knew his faces. I've seen them for 8 years. I know what he looks like against sheets and in showers. I didn't wonder what his moves were. I didn't wonder what he sounded like when he came. I knew all that. But with you, I wondered. I didn't want to, but I wondered. I went through many torturous months of trying to co-parent, while you lurked in the shadows of my mind. Was it you he was texting? No, I'd say, trying to convince myself. He told me he was done with you. It had to be true because it needed to be true. I relaxed. I allowed myself to move forward with co-parenting with not looking out the window wondering if he was hiding something in the car before he came inside. I could finally breathe, or so I thought. Then reality gave me a strong dose of wake the fuck up. I found out all over again that you existed. Still. That you've had in fact never gone away. This added months onto the timeline that I thought had been done. I had to now add 5 more months to the tally of time he's been lying to me. If he was telling me the truth about when he began with you. You two would be coming up on a year together. It crushed me. Did this mean you were no longer a fling? Were you real? Was this a real thing? I cried. I was angry this time. Angry that he thought I was so stupid. Angry that he was risking his custody with his child or stability. That he was writing this story and still not realizing how he was the villain. I noticed something, though. I was angry, but I wasn't sad. I had already mourned the life I thought I had. This was a different pain. This was the pain that all along he had never evolved as I had thought. He had never valued the things that should have come first, but only himself. And then slowly over a few days' time, my senses came back. And I remembered that no, you weren't real. No, my dear, you aren't real at all. A real relationship doesn't sprout within the cracks of a marriage. It isn't shushed and hidden behind closed doors and erased like deleted text for almost a year or more. A real relationship doesn't thrive on secrecy and darkness. A real woman with self-worth and dignity wouldn't allow herself to succumb to being an option, an escape, a plaything to a married man for so long. She wouldn't accept being hidden. This dose of reality the universe had given me was actually a gift, and it has only now dawned on me how priceless it truly is. In the following days after Discovery #2, I began to think about you again, but in a totally different light than ever before. I began to feel sadness for you and relief for me. Because you, my dear, you can have him. He's all yours. All the lies, the ability for him to ease into a script to protect himself, the inability to process pain and loneliness, his marital problems or even childhood attachment issues, his history of cheating, his criticism of anything that doesn't fit into his box, all of it. It's all your problem now. And thank God for that, right? Because you are now with someone who has no issue cheating on his wife and family, on previous ex-girlfriends, on the law, on anything he feels he's above. He has no bar, no line he won't cross to fulfill a deep, deep void that lies within himself. He has damaged goods, broken beyond repair with a self-image complex that needs constant servicing. You're just a prop. Perhaps it was just a prop. I don't know. What did you know is that my life's work will be dedicated to making sure he doesn't infect his daughter with the same illnesses of inadequacy I can only imagine is at the bottom of all of this, fueling his choices and his actions. So congratulations, you may have him, but buyer beware, he isn't what he seems. Don't look too closely, because if you do, you'll see behind that shiny talk, the flowers and romance, that you're actually getting a pretty raw deal. I feel for you, because when I was your age, I too believed he hummed the moon. I thought he was the answer, and I looked beyond all the soaring red flags. I buried them in the far corners of my brain, but they would be washed over with oxytocin and soon forgotten. I'd excuse it all away for years and years to come. And I know you will too. You may already be doing so. I've heard your hesitation. You have a little voice in the back of your head too, and it's saying, is this worth the risk? I'll tell you right now, it's not. But that's for you to figure out. Hopefully it won't take you as long as it took me. Fast forward to current day. You both have no idea, I know. You think you've tricked me, gotten away with something which keeps the flame lit, the risk hot, and the sex hotter. I know this, which is why I will play my cards well, which is why this is on a throwaway account, which is why I play nice in the foreground, smiling and co-parenting and pretending, but in the background I'm listening and planning. I can't wait to be free. He just told you that I am the one holding up the divorce. In conclusion, I want to say one final thing. Thank you for being the catalyst that allowed me to see who he truly was this whole time, for allowing me to see that he values himself over all else, including you, for continuing to be the side girl, the one waiting in the wings with bated breath, hoping maybe one day he'll take you out in the sunlight instead of keeping you behind closed doors. I'm sure you're wondering why it hasn't happened yet, and unfortunately for you, it probably won't. I don't know what it's like to be the other woman. I won't ever know, because I know my worth now. But what I do know is that I see you and I recognize you have been swept up by his sweet talk, his persuasion, and his lies, just as I was when I was your age. I wish I had me to tell me back then that it all wasn't worth it. But I suppose it's okay, because in the end, I got a beautiful daughter and a huge lesson in life. But you, in the end, you'll just get more lies, more waiting, more pieces that pile up into towers of paranoia and fear. What you will eventually come to realize is that this isn't something that can be fixed by outside forces, simply because it isn't you or me or any other woman that can make him whole. It's him. It's how he's built and who he is, and nothing and no one will ever be enough to change this festering hole in his heart. If he couldn't change his patterns for his own daughter's stability, he certainly won't change his patterns for you.